What if events had unfolded differently in Avengers Infinity War? Imagine if another sinister force had been in the mix of things. You might have read the title right when you clicked on this video. What if Godzilla was in Avengers Infinity War? With his presence being known, what would the Avengers do? Do you think they could even do anything to stop Godzilla, as his destruction would cause amounts of damage to the city streets? In the vast realities, there are certain events that happen that beat the average reasoning of man. In this reality, Godzilla had been lying dormant in the Pacific Ocean for some time. But the decision of the Japanese to start testing their nuclear weapons awoke the monster. Godzilla got to this universe via a fight with the Mecha Godzilla on his own universe. Let's watch and see how everything plays out, my fellow watchers of the multiverse, and how Godzilla's presence changes everything and the events of things. Wong was not happy at all, and that was saying the least. He had just got disturbing news from the Japanese while he was at the Hong Kong sanctum, and he had to check it out. The Japanese had been testing a series of nuclear weapons in the Pacific Ocean, and now it looked like it had backfired. They reported strange sightings of an unknown monster, and they were all pretty shaken. Wong decided that he had to waste no time and visit the area so that he could not wait for the Sorcerer Supreme. Wong just sent out a message to him and hoped that Doctor Strange would know where to find him. Wong quickly met with a man who told him what he knew of the monster. They had already formed a name for it, and inside of him, Wong felt downright terrified by just hearing its name, Godzilla, the man called out to him. The scientist further went on to tell Wong how he deduced that the monster came about. It is a product of all these nuclear radiations, he said. It was further deduced that the recent nuclear weapon testings at the Pacific Ocean had destroyed its home, and this enraged it. Wong almost knew firsthand what it meant to have your home destroyed, as he remembered his last battle where he lost the Ancient One. Wong guessed that the creature must have been very enraged, and he decided that he would go easy on it. The creature quickly popped up on the radar, and Wong was sent to stop it. Wong asked for any last-minute information that might help him in the fight and give him the upper hand, and the scientist obliged. It should be over 100 feet, as he told Wong that they had not been able to really measure it, as all their sightings of the creature had been in the water. But Wong did not hear him. Wong was still shocked at the size of the creature. All other descriptions from the scientist did not help Wong's morale. After the briefing, Wong also got to know how the creature looked and its nature. Wong said a prayer and honestly hoped that Doctor Strange would arrive on time. That's why he is the Sorcerer Supreme after all. He is supposed to deal with things like this, Wong said, after giving the people and scientists assurance that they really needed. Wong went out on the suicide mission. After they had successfully pinpointed the location of the creature, Wong bid them farewell. Using a sling ring, Wong immediately opened a portal to the location of the monster, and it was a nightmarish sight. No rational man would go in there, Wong thought. He did one of the most irrational things he had done in his life and jumped into the portal. The scientists had done a very good job at describing the monster, but their scale of the description was very mild. What Wong was seeing was now horrifying of what they described, towering over him and making him look like a toy. Godzilla was over 150 feet. The monster had terrifying claws that each resembled a small, sharp mountain, and each teeth were shark-like. It had 3 rows of sharp spines along its back, which ended at a tail. Wong decided that he must be dreaming because what he saw before him was only present in a nightmare. When Wong closed his eyes and opened his eyes, he still saw the creature before him. He decided that he was actually not dreaming. Summoning up his guts, Wong went ahead to combat the monster, to at least slow him down before Doctor Strange arrived. Wong could not allow him to invade the city and destroy it, as multiple lives would be lost. Strange was at his sanctum when Bruce came in with horrible tales. Bruce Banner had arrived, using the Bifrost, and he told Doctor Strange of Thanos. Doctor Strange was shocked to hear the news of Asgard's confrontation with Thanos, as he knew the military might of Asgardians. Worst of all, Strange was shocked when Banner told him that Hulk had been beaten up like a child. Strange knew the powers of the Incredible Hulk, and the picture of the Mad Titan manhandling him like a toddler was downright horrifying. Strange did the rational thing and contacted Tony Stark. Strange did not know what was keeping Wong from arriving, as they had their issue to attend to when they suddenly remembered Strange had got Wong's message when Bruce had just emerged, so he completely forgot about it. Strange quickly decided that he had to go help Wong confront the mysterious threat. Hulk warned him that Thanos' forces are already after him, so he had to stay put so that he could be protected. Strange just laughed it off. "I'm the Sorcerer Supreme. I do the protecting around here, buddy. And one of my sorcerers and good friends needs protecting," Strange said, as he materialized a portal with a sling ring. Strange advised Bruce to stay put as Tony would arrive soon, and immediately he entered into the portal. During his conversation with Banner, Strange noticed the look of horror on his face when he opened the portal to Wong's location, and now Strange saw his expression did not do justice to the sight that he saw before him. Wong was currently facing one of the most devastating looking monsters Strange had ever seen, and that counted a lot of things, because Strange had even seen Dormammu. Wong had summoned other sorcerers of the mystic arts, and they were trying their best to subdue the beast, but it was not enough. Doctor Strange hoped that together they would be able to destroy the threat, as they had other pressing matters in the form of the Mad Titan. Strange quickly used his cloak of levitation and flew to join the battle with his fellow sorcerers and Wong. "Hopefully this time everything will go according to plan," Strange said. Ebony Maw and Cull Obsidian had to deliver the Time Stone to the Mad Titan, and they had locked in on its location, but now they had lost it. Ebony Maw screamed in rage. They had tracked the stone to Earth in the city of New York, but now it seemed as if it had just vanished. Ebony Maw quickly deduced that Strange had teleported out of the city, and it infuriated him. Obsidian and Ebony Maw knew that they could not go back to Thanos without the stone, as it was almost suicidal. They had no idea of what to do, until suddenly they saw the new location of the stone, and they quickly plotted their direction and started moving towards it. The stone's location was now in the Pacific Ocean, near the country of Japan. Ebony Maw did not know what took Strange there, and he did not care. All they wanted was the stone, and they would surely get it. Ebony Maw could almost feel the stone in his grasp, as the Q-ship made its way to their destination via hyperspeed. Doctor Strange, Wong, and other sorcerers had no luck in trying to subdue Godzilla. If anything, they even made it worse. Strange then deduced that they had to work in perfect unison to defeat it, and he communicated his intentions to the other sorcerers. Strange quickly used the wind's Awada Bomb to splash water mist around the eyes of Godzilla, to temporarily blind him. After that, on his count, Doctor Strange and other sorcerers used crimson bands to bind Godzilla. Godzilla was not making it easy for them, as he refused to be subdued. But they were gaining slowly, but suddenly everything changed in a split second. Strange saw a glowing form of energy glowing in the stomach of Godzilla, and it was rapidly making its way to his mouth. Strange quickly screamed that they should evade, as he rushed to save Wong, who who was directly at the mouth of Godzilla. Wong screamed as he summoned the mystical shield, but Strange knew that it would be no good. Strange quickly activated the time stone and tried his best in slowing down time. It made the blast move in slow motion. Dr. Strange quickly plucked Wong out of the blastway, but he was not without some damage. Immediately, Strange had grabbed Wong to escape. He lost his concentration on the time stone, and even though he was out of harm's way, the force of the blast blew him away. As Strange tumbled in the sky, he noted subconsciously how the blast had torn through the shield, and as if it was nothing, Wong immediately opened a portal, and with his sling ring, they landed on the shore, facing Godzilla. Immediately, Strange landed. He knew how badly the force wave of Godzilla's blast had hurt him, as he blacked out almost immediately. As Strange blacked out, he noted a ship above him, and the roar of Godzilla. Blacking out during a battle was something that the Sorcerer Supreme should not do, but yet Strange had fainted in the middle of the battle. After mentally beating himself up, Strange quickly asked for details on what had happened after he passed out. Wong told him everything, and Strange was filled with mixed emotions. Wong told Strange that he had been knocked out for several hours, and his body was fuming out of smoke. It had taken their best healers to stop the damage to his body, Wong told him. Strange shivered as he thought of the raw power of Godzilla. If only the force wave of his blast could do this to Strange. He did not know what to find out, what the real blast could do. Strange started addressing Godzilla as a male because of what Wong had just told him. Apparently, after he blacked out, Thanos' Black Order had appeared to take the Time Stone. Dr. Strange quickly remembered that a ship in the sky was there, and it was the last thing he saw before he blacked out. Wong stated that Godzilla had just totally obliterated them by blasting them with an atomic fire breath. Strange was not surprised when Wong told him that nothing remained of the ship, but he was shocked when Wong told him how he was dispelled by the monster. Wong had trapped the monster in the mirror dimension, and Strange kicked himself for not thinking about it earlier. It was a very genius idea. Strange commended Wong. Wong, however, told Strange that before him locking up the beast, that he had flown up to tame it, and he felt a sort of connection with it. Wong stated that the meeting was how he had just knew that Godzilla was a male. Strange quickly brushed it off, as he decided that a beast like Godzilla did not have a consciousness or intelligent mind. Wong was about to argue, but they were interrupted by a visitor, Tony Stark. Thanos was disappointed in every one of his children, except one, Gamora, and he had just killed her in order to get the Soul Stone. Thanos had to sacrifice someone he loved, and it was Gamora. Thanos' stance about being disappointed in his adopted children was solidified, as he discovered that Ebony Maw, an Obsidian, had failed to bring him the Time Stone. He also got to know that the mission to acquire the Mind Stone had failed woefully. I guess if you want something done, you do it yourself, Thanos grunted. Thanos had gotten the Power Stone, Space Stone, Reality, and Soul Stone by himself, but he sent his children to capture a single stone from the puny humans, and they failed. Thanos decided that he had to get the stone by himself as usual. He was quickly informed that his daughter, Nebula, had escaped, but he did not care. She was insignificant in his plans. Plot our course for Earth, the Mad Titan ordered, as his forces tracked both the Time and the Mind Infinity Stones. Tony just had one mission, and he accomplished it. After Bruce Banner had called him, he quickly answered Tony, and he was now informed of the presence of the Mad Titan, and how he defeated the Asgardians, and also killed Thor, and almost killed Hulk. After hearing the information from Bruce Banner, Tony had to put aside his differences with Steve Rogers, and he phoned him. After the call, they had quickly planned to meet up at Rhodes' base. Steve Rogers had been successful in bringing together the Avengers, apart from Hawkeye and Ant-Man. Tony had also brought along Spider-Man, who was conveniently around New York because of a school incursion. Steve also brought Wanda and Vision, and they narrated their experience with some of Thanos' forces, who wanted to retrieve the Mind Stone from Vision. If Captain America had not arrived when he did, then the stone would have been lost. They quickly decided that Vision be moved to Wakanda in order to retrieve the stone without killing him. Tony quickly brought up Doctor Strange, as he was the one with the Time Stone. It makes sense for Thanos to also send forces to retrieve it from him, Tony said, and they quickly agreed. They all agreed that Tony should go, and informed Doctor Strange to meet at Wakanda for their last stance with Thanos. Together we can beat him, Captain America said, as he was sure that Wakanda was the most powerful nation on Earth, and with the Avengers, they would be unstoppable. Tony had quickly departed to meet Doctor Strange, in little trouble in convincing the Sorcerer Supreme to help in the fight. Doctor Strange had told Tony to give him a few minutes to prepare, and after that, the use of a sling ring, they were in Wakanda. Godzilla had spent several hours exploring his new environment, and he was still confused. The human had deceived him, and it enraged him. Godzilla remembered how Wong had levitated up and mocked a sign of peace. Godzilla's first reaction was to blast him into nothingness, like he did to the irritating ship that buzzed around his head, but for some reason he did not. Godzilla did not trust anybody, and he certainly did not trust the humans that disturbed his inhabitants, but this human, Wong, piqued his interest. Godzilla had felt a sort of connection with him, and after that, he had been tricked and trapped in the mirror dimension. He had tried blasting his way out of this strange world, but it did not affect anything, so he ran out of options. Godzilla almost gave up, but suddenly he saw a light at the side of his eyes, and when he turned, he saw that it was Wong, who came with his hands above his heads, a sign of peace. Most individuals thought that Godzilla was not intelligent, but he was smart enough. Godzilla blasted Wong, but he swiftly teleported himself out of harm's way. They went on like that, back and forth with Wong, escaping every time. After a while, Godzilla was tired of the games, and Wong cautiously approached him with a grin on his face. He told me that I could not reason with you, but I think we have already come to our first agreement, Wong said with a smile, as he floated up to Godzilla's face. I brought food, Wong said, as he opened a portal and brought in an abandoned nuclear plant for Godzilla to feed on, while he watched with fashion. Star-Lord was in shambles, but he was quickly confronted by the arrival of Nebula. He had already dispatched 2 members of his team to help Thor gain a new weapon, and it had left the rest of them insignificant to stop Thanos. Star-Lord could not stop thinking that maybe, if they were complete, that Gamora would be safe. Thanos had abducted her, but now Nebula, her sister, who escaped from a ship, claimed to know where the next strike would be. They were already heading to Titan, his home planet, when Nebula stated that they had to change course to Earth. Apparently, Nebula had bugged Thanos' ship, and for some reason they did not know it yet. He was heading to Earth. It had been a while since Star-Lord had visited home, but he did not think twice about it because Gamora was involved. He just prayed that Groot and Rocket would arrive on Earth too, and on time. Maybe then, when they were together, we would defeat him, Star-Lord thought, and what sounded strangely like him praying. When Thanos arrived on Earth, he saw the humans were already prepared for him, and it amused him. To Thanos, it was just as if they were fighting against death. He too, like death, was inevitable. Thanos ordered his forces to attack, but they were having issues penetrating the force field of Wakanda. Thanos was a general of war, and he knew what must happen, as he had faced similar situations before. Thanos quickly scanned the battlefield and gave orders to his troops to barricade themselves around the entire Wakanda. It was possible because Thanos had thousands of soldiers, and all of them would be willing to give their lives for him. His troops followed his orders by bombarding the entire Wakanda, a lot of them sacrificing by colliding directly with the force field and weakening it. The Mad Titan watched, amused, as the humans did not exactly know what he wanted to do, but they opened a small part of the force field to let his army in. Thanos knew that for fear of being surrounded and overwhelmed, the humans would be forced to create a breach to allow Thanos' forces in, with the false hope that they could control the tide of defeating them. The Mad Titan knew that eventually he would have entered the battlefield, but for the meantime, he had decided to sit back and let his troops do some of the work. The battle was going very bad for the Avengers. T'Challa had led in Thanos' army, because sooner or later, they would have gotten through the force field. When that happened, the Avengers and the Wakandan army would have been overwhelmed. At that time, letting them through a slim gateway seemed like a smart move. They had regretted it because several things went bad immediately. First, the Hulk. Their trump card was out of commission, and they just found out at the battle. The Hulk was literally scared of coming out of a battle because of what Thanos had done to him, and that fact did not do anything to increase the morale of the Avengers. Bruce Banner was quickly escorted back to the fortress of Wakanda for his safety. Maybe he would have been able to help out with one of the warplanes. Tony Stark guessed as he nodded, and maybe he would have lended Banner his armor. The second problem was that Thanos' army was just too much to bear, and it could have been worse as Doctor Strange had come through with sorcerers of the mystic arts, who tried their very best in attacking, but it was not just enough. Tony had set up multiple landmines, and they had all detonated, but it hardly made a dent in the army. In all their hasty plottings, they had not guessed that the Mad Titan's army would be this massive. In a moment, all of them would be overwhelmed, and Black Widow quickly drew the Avengers' attention to Doctor Strange, who looked like he was having a conversion while being protected by sorcerers. But Tony knew better. Strange was doing a spell. When Strange was done, his face was grim. "I just scanned all the possible outcomes of this battle," he told Wong, who was at his side. "We would need Godzilla. After all," Doctor Strange told Wong, who immediately lit up. Wong had suggested that he brought Godzilla to the battle against Thanos, but Doctor Strange immediately refused, as he stated that it was too dangerous. Godzilla was too dangerous, too unpredictable, and too powerful, Strange had stated. And Wong could not argue because it was true. Wong, however, thought that he could try and communicate with Godzilla to aid them, but he was not sure. Strange was not giving him the go-ahead, and he was very elated, but it also made him grim. Because if Strange wanted Godzilla, it meant that things would be very bad, and he was very desperate. Strange coordinated the remaining sorcerers, and they combined their efforts to create the shield, and while Wong opened a portal to the mirror dimension, out came an enraged Godzilla. Thanos had to admit that he was surprised at the strength and the power of the beast. The beast started plowing through his troops immediately as he emerged from the portal. Thanos' army firepower did not seem to penetrate the beast. If anything, it enraged him more. Godzilla stomped his army into jelly as he marched on the blasting of his ships with his nuclear heat. Some of Thanos' once fearless warriors were now retreating in horror, but that did not stop him. Thanos knew that he had to do something, but Godzilla beat him to it as he blasted his ship out of the sky. Thanos quickly teleported out of the ship and was about to meet Godzilla for a physical altercation when a clever idea sprung to his mind. With a smirk, Thanos used the Space Stone and teleported. Thanos' plan was quite simple, and he accomplished it very easy. He got to the Wakandan lab where the Mind Stone had been successfully separated from Vision. As Wanda was about to destroy it, Thanos blasted her away and collected the stone. Bruce Banner attempted to jump on Thanos, but he caught him by the neck. "The Hulk was no match for me, and you will not even be a match for me either," Thanos said as he snapped his neck, while he used the Power Stone to blast him to smithereens, and missed the screams of Vision and Wanda. After that, he had used the Mind Stone to control Godzilla. The beast was now under his control, and Thanos was appeased, as he had turned the human beast against them. Godzilla started destroying and killing the humans more easily than he had done to Thanos' army. Thor had arrived, and he threw the Stormbreaker towards him at full force. The entire power of the Infinity Gauntlet only seemed to slow down the hammer, as it rapidly made its way towards Thanos. Then, Godzilla added his nuclear heat breath to aid him. They combined power, and it blasted the Stormbreaker towards Thor. Multiple humans were dead, and more were sure to follow, as Thanos directed Godzilla to blast them with his nuclear heat breath. But Doctor Strange stopped him as he levitated up with the Time Stone. Doctor Strange knew what must have happened, and he could not let the destruction and chaos continue. Before Strange had left, he had exchanged a meaningful look with Wong, and then he activated the Time Stone as he reversed the events of the destructions that Godzilla had waged, even as he levitated towards Thanos. When he was done, he willingly handed the Time Stone to Thanos, to the rage and dismay of the people at the battlefield. Thanos collected the stone and smirked. Then he snapped his hands, and half of the universe's population faded away. Wong did not fade away, and it hurt him more because he felt that he deserved it because of his actions of bringing Godzilla, and Godzilla too had not faded away. After Thanos accomplished what he came to do, he teleported out of Earth, and Godzilla seemed to awake from his trance. Godzilla had immediately started walking towards the Wakanda River, and from there he departed, and nobody tried to stop him, thought sadly because there was no need to. The battle had been lost. And that is going to be What If Godzilla Was in Avengers Infinity War. How did you enjoy this mecha crossover event, no pun intended? I think it was really interesting how Mecha Godzilla had ended up, teleporting Godzilla to this universe at the very beginning, and I think it would have been very interesting to see more of that character. I don't know if we're going to see him in Endgame because there's going to be a part 2 to this Marvel's What If crossover with Godzilla. But that being said, how did you enjoy the video? Did you enjoy the crossover event with Godzilla and the Avengers? Also, if you guys do have what ifs that you would like to request, I will be looking at a ton more requests as I'm making a ton of videos on this channel. We're going to be going into different franchises, doing different what ifs, other than just, the Marvel content that's usually on this channel. But that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.